to pursue those different kind of courses, and what is the basically what is the entry criteria or the admissions criteria which the universities look at while giving admission to you for a master's degree abroad. So before that, no, just a small introduction. So my name is Rajan Bhatia. I am the Vice President of Admission Counseling at Jamboree Education. So I have been working in this study abroad domain for past 16 years. And no, I have no, done both my bachelor's and master's from UK. So that is, and I have been no, able to help students in realizing their study abroad dreams for all these years. And today with me, I have an elite set of panelists. So, we have, first of all, I would like to have Miss Nidhi Makar, so to come and give a small introduction. So, Nidhi.
Hi everyone, this is Nidhi. So about me, I have completed my bachelor's and master's in business management, and then post that I've been in the education industry for a long time now. So with Jamboree, I majorly handle the master's cases. So I think that's about it, and we look forward to having an interactive session with you all. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Nidhi.
Yeah.
And Nidhi has been working with Jamboree for past 3 years now, and she has handled close to 500 students for realizing their master's degree abroad. So thanks, Nidhi. So then we have Aparna Asthana. So Aparna, if you can just introduce yourself.
Yeah. I am Aparna Asthana, and I have been graduated. I'm a graduate in biology and having a work experience of 15 years. And I am with Jamboree since past 7 years. So I'm looking forward for servicing for MS admissions and looking forward to answer your queries as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Aparna. So Aparna is our assistant manager for master's admissions counseling. So thank you, Aparna. So then Gitanjali. So Gitanjali, if you can introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Gitanjali. So a little bit about my background. I've done my Bachelor's of Technology in Information Sciences from Punjab University, post which I went on to pursue a diploma in liberal arts. So I've sort of a diverse background, and I've always been passionate about education, which is one of the reasons why I'm here. So it's really nice to see all of you here on this platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Gitanjali. So then lastly, we have Ms. Shagun. So Shagun, if you can introduce yourself.
Hello.
Yeah, Shagun, we can hear
Hello
you.
everyone. I'm Shagun. So I'm a commerce graduate, and post that I pursued a PG diploma in liberal studies from Ashoka University, and post that I have been working as a program manager with Jamboree for master's applications, and I'm really looking forward to a really fruitful and interactive session with all of you.
So thank you to all the panelists, and we look forward to have your valuable insights on this webinar in handling all the student queries. So you can now switch off your videos, and we'll come back to you as and when we progress in this session. Thank you. So thank you again, everyone for becoming a part of this webinar, and just to set some ground rules. So what we will do is, we will first of all, run through our presentation and what we have in store for you, and following which we will open the house for question and answers, and we will give you all the opportunity to ask your questions, which you can type in your chat box, and then we will take those questions on an individual basis. So I would suggest you not to type anything during the presentation, and maintain the smooth flow of the presentation. And we will give you enough time in the end to discuss your questions in the Q&A session. So just a final mic check. So am I audible to everyone? So you can type a yes in the chat box. Okay, great. Okay, so now we will start the presentation. Is my screen visible now to everyone? Can you guys see my screen? You can type a yes in the chat box if you are able to see my screen. So to all the panelists, guys, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. I can.
Yes.
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 Yes, sir.
Okay. So just a bit of a little bit of background of what Jamboree is. So no, might some of you would already know what Jamboree is because you might be Jamboree students. So for the benefit of others who don't know, so we know are one of the leading test preparation companies in India. We started in the year 1993, and since then we have been providing the training on GRE, GMAT, SAT, IELTS, and TOEFL to all the students across India. As on date, and we also provide extensive university admission counseling service for helping students in preparing a good application and a profile when it comes to applying to universities abroad. As on date, we have a total of 39 centers spread across 22 cities in India and 4 countries. So we are based in India, in UAE, in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, in Nepal, in Kathmandu, and in Singapore. So those are the 4 cities where we have our centers. In this presentation, we'll obviously talk about the admissions criteria when it comes to a good master's degree abroad. What are the various countries the students generally plan to go for when they plan their master's degree? What are the various course options which you can exercise being a master's student? And then we'll also talk about some unique courses in this COVID-19 situation, some of the interesting courses which have really come up in this present world where you can do a good MS and can expect a great career and good salaries also. So let me start with the education abroad options. So what are the various popular countries or popular study abroad destinations that a lot of students now look at while pursuing their master's degree? So US obviously tops the bracket with the students who want to pursue their education. Then we have the UK and the rest of Europe, mainly Ireland, Germany, France, Netherlands, Sweden. Some students also look at Poland and so on. Then a lot of students have of late developed an interest in going to Canada for their master's degree, Australia, New Zealand, another interesting destination. And some students also look to pursue their master's degrees in Asian countries like Hong Kong and Singapore. So these are the various popular study abroad destinations which students look at while pursuing their master's degree abroad. So what are the various admissions criteria that you need to take into consideration for applying for a good master's degree? First of all, you have to take care of your standardized test. When you're applying for a master's degree, if you're applying for masters, and also you have to take a test called the GRE or GMAT. So for example, if you are applying for programs like computer science, engineering, etc. So you have to take the GRE exam. But if you are planning to apply for some management courses like MIM, MBA, marketing, finance, so GMAT is more preferred over GRE. So you have to take those standardized tests depending on which program you want to pursue. So you have to either take the GRE or the GMAT exam. And apart from that, since we are officially a Hindi speaking nation, so we also have to take an English proficiency test, which is namely the TOEFL or the IELTS exam. So these tests are mandatory at master's level. So they're especially in US and Canada, they are mandatory. So some students might say that you might get waivers for these, but in TOEFL, but in countries like US and Canada, these tests are mandatory to take. So if you're applying for these countries, so you should not expect any waivers from these countries for the TOEFL or the IELTS. As far as the academic record is concerned, no, just to apprise that the universities outside India don't take into consideration your academic record in 10th and 12th. So if as a student you have not done well in class 10th or 12th, doesn't matter, you don't have to worry even if you have not performed well in these classes, because universities outside India only take into consideration your academic record from your bachelor's degree onwards. So they will see your academic performance in your bachelor's degree, like how much marks you have obtained in each semester, and they will see your marks you have obtained in each semester and anything you have done up in tandem with your bachelor's degree. So bachelor's degree and beyond are the academic record which countries like US and Canada look at. Some countries like UK and Germany or in Europe, they also take into consideration your 10th and 12th, but the major criteria for giving you admission still is your performance in the bachelor's degree. Then lot of universities also look at extracurricular activities which are most important for from an MBA or MIM point of view. MIM means Masters in Management. So they are only important from MBA or MIM point of view, not that much important when you want to pursue MS in Computer Science or Engineering. So it is only from the point of view or MBA or MIM, those extracurricular activities play a major role. So anything you have done apart from your academics, you have played sports or you play a musical instrument, you have done a social or community service, you have done a lot of projects, or you have organized certain programs in your college. So all those extracurricular activities are important from an MBA or an MIM point of view, not that much relevant if you're applying for programs like engineering, computer science, biotechnology, etc. So if extracurricular activities is not given importance in those programs, so what is more important for a master's degree admissions? So a lot of universities, to give you admission in an MS program, place a lot of emphasis on the research work. So because as you know, a master's degree is an extension of a bachelor's degree, because master's is a highly academic oriented degree and it's an extension of bachelor's degree. So a lot of universities want to see how much work you have done or you have the relevant background to pursue that master's degree. So by research work, now what do I mean by research work? So research work means any lot of projects that you have done during your bachelor's degree. Now some students also do internships. So if somebody has a publication, so that is a very good research work. Or some unique students also have patents, so they can also be used for a research work. So it's a combination of your projects, internships, patents, publications, etc. that you have done in your bachelor's degree, which will prove your worthiness and will show your enthusiasm for your master's degree, because master's degree is a highly academic oriented degree. Then you have to also submit letters of recommendation. So as a master's student, you have to submit at least 2 to 3 letters of recommendation, which you can take if you're applying for programs like computer science engineering. So you can take it from your college professors, your head of departments, or if you have done a very good project or an internship, so you can also take these LORs from your project guides or your internship guides also. So very important that when you are taking these LORs, so each LOR has to showcase unique things about your personality. So if one LOR is talking about your punctuality and your contribution to the class, so other LOR should talk about some other qualities of your profile. So very common LORs often lead to rejections, but you should always strive to obtain different LORs, and the theme of each LOR should be different from one another. And very important, a major role which a lot of universities emphasize in your giving you admission for a master's degree is your statement of purpose. So what do you mean by statement of purpose? So statement of purpose is the purpose. What is your purpose of pursuing that master's degree in that university? So what you will write in that statement of purpose is your existing background. So whether you have the relevant background to pursue a master's degree. So you have done subsequent work or substantial work in your bachelor's degree which makes you eligible to apply for that master's degree? Then why do you want to pursue that master's degree, and why from that particular university? And how that master's degree which you pursue will lead to your long-term goals. So that is the purpose that you explain or write in a statement of purpose, your past, present, and future. So your background work in terms of your bachelor's degree, why this master's, and what do you expect out of that master's degree to obtain in your career. So that is the purpose that you need to mention in the statement of purpose. So universities play a lot of emphasis on the statement of purpose. So do place a lot of emphasis while writing the statement of purpose, and universities do not like to read very long SOPs. So always restrict to the word limit stated by the universities in the application, or if there is no word limit on the application, so restrict your SOP to just 1.5 to 2 pages in length. So because universities do not expect or do not appreciate reading very long SOPs. So you might have an excellent GRE score, an excellent academic record, good research work, but if your SOP is not strong enough, so that could lead to a rejection in the university application. And then very rarely in some MBA cases or some of the top universities offering MIM courses, there might be some interviews. So you also have to go through an interview process if you want to gain admission in MBA or some of the top MIM schools, for example, like London School of Economics, London Business School, HEC Paris, INSEAD, etc. So there you might have to also take interviews for these universities, but interviews are very rare for programs like computer science, engineering, etc. So these are some of the admissions criteria that the universities look at. So I will pause here for a while, and no, I will give you some chance to know if you have any questions related to the admissions criteria before we move on. So you can type in your question in the chat box, but only just restrict your questions to any admissions criteria which you are not able to get. So you can type in the chat box. Any questions, anyone, on the entry criteria or admissions criteria which is not understandable to you or not clear? Okay. So, Shagun, Ankit has a question that will lower GPA decrease his chances of admissions?
See, GPA is one of the important factors, but if you are targeting countries like US, right? US is not very GPA centric. Like it looks towards the overall profile, and you can cover up for your low GPA through your GRE scores also, and you can build your profile if you have a strong overall profile. So GPA does not affect that much. I'll say if US is something you are targeting.
Okay. So Anushri, as I mentioned, by research work, it means that if you have done some projects or internships, or you have some publication in your profile, or if you have done some online courses related to your field of study. So all these things constitute to your research work while applying to universities abroad for a master's degree. So Kiran, again, as I mentioned, so a lot of universities for masters would require a maximum of 3 LORs. So there are 3 LORs which you need, and every university has just one SOP. In some cases, there might be a personal statement in addition to the SOP, but SOP is mostly one. Nidhi, Spurti has a question, can SOP be just one page?
Okay, if we talk about SOP, so generally, as Rajan sir said, that it could be one page, but again, it depends on the requirements for each of the universities. They specifically mention that either it could be, example, 750 words or one page, or it can go up to 1.5 pages. So it is not a stringent requirement, but we generally recommend, yeah.
Okay. So Aparna, Ananya has a question that do backlogs affect the process of admission? Aparna, can you hear me?
Yeah, just a moment. Sorry. Yeah. The thing is,
Ananya has a,
2
yeah.
backlogs are fine, but not more than that.
Aparna, can you just repeat that again?
I am saying 1 or 2 backlogs are fine and it should be clear, but not more than that because definitely it will affect the admission.
So Ananya, in addition to Aparna, no, so she's saying that backlogs are fine, but no, some universities in the US do have no limit to backlogs. But again, if you have more backlogs, so that obviously affects the chances. And also the backlogs have to be cleared in the particular years of study. So it is always appreciable by especially top universities that backlogs are cleared within like 4 years of undergraduate degree. And lot of backlog like 5 plus or 10 plus backlogs are sometimes affect the chances of admission in top universities, but there are some universities which do accept backlogs also, but the backlogs, the minimum, the better it is. Nidhi, Kriti has a question that how much does a year drop affects the application?
In eardrop, firstly you need to understand what the reason is for an eardrop, because that is more important, because when you're writing an SOP, so what is the reason of that 1 year eardrop? 1 year of drop matters. If it is because of some health reasons or maybe you had some personal issues, so you can actually write that in the SOP and universities do understand that.
Okay.
Yeah. So your reason have to be like understandable, or it has to be justified pretty well in the SOP.
Okay. So Simran, no, how many research papers? So even if you have 1 or 2 research papers, that more than enough. So the university are not looking for a lot of quantity in the application. So research, 1 or 2 research papers are quite fine in the application. Karan, no, if you're applying for countries like UK, Europe, etc., so they are quite GPA centric, but no, in countries like US, so there are other factors like SOP, LORs, which can also cover your low GPA. So they are not much GPA centric there. So Nidhi, Pranav has a question that if he is eligible for an MSc Economics, if he is currently doing a BTech.
Okay, now for this question, generally you need to actually check the requirements for each of the universities, because what happens is when you're going for a course which is different from, the bachelor's that you've been doing, you need to meet certain prerequisites, especially course like in economics or finance or something. Now that you're coming from a engineering background, I'm not sure if you have done certain subjects like some kind of major or some kind of additional subjects in economics, then I think you would be eligible for it. But there's always a requirement or prerequisites that you should have completed at least these many credits, let's say 10 credits for macroeconomics or maybe 12 credits for microeconomics. So that has to be clearly looked at when you're looking for a economics program.
Okay. So Gitanjali, Kiran has a question that does UK universities look at GPA?
So for UK universities, usually we have ranges. So there's a range of universities that you can apply to with the percentage of 80 to 89, then 70 to 79. So it really is dependent, but UK is pretty much open to all ranges of percentages.
Okay. So Spurti, again, as you asked that can working experience add any weight? So obviously, as far as the MS admissions is concerned, work experience is not required. But no, if you have work experience, so that can really add weightage to your application without a doubt. Ramzan, due to coronavirus, a lot of universities are not asking for GRE, but only for fall 20 and spring 21. But no, as far as we are concerned with our talks with a lot of universities, so they would be considering the GRE scores for fall 21. So for fall 21, there is no news on universities giving GRE waivers. So Gitanjali, a student Preeti has a question that if someone is working in the same industry, but want to pursue more skills and prefer to do MS, how LR changes then?
Sorry, could you repeat?
If someone is working in the same industry, but
Mhm.
more skills and prefer to do MS, so how LR changes?
So you can approach the change by having a strong reason for the change, and secondly, you can perhaps pursue educational opportunities online. So there are portals like Coursera and edX where you can pursue courses, which will certainly add to your intent to apply to a certain program.
So Darsh, as you mentioned that does preference over internship projects courses vary? So it is not which one is preferred over other, but if you have done any courses or internships or projects in your profile, so that is fine. So anything that you have done in your profile to increase your weightage in your MS application, so whether it is internship, project or course, that is fine. Okay, so then we will now move on to others, and then we will now come back to you with more questions. So what are the various course options now which students can study at master's degree? So if you have done a bachelor's in computer science, so these are some of the courses you can do: MS in computer science, software engineering, MS in information technology, MS in MIS, MS in computer engineering, MS in engineering management, MS in financial engineering, a very upcoming course if you want to have a combination of finance and engineering, MS in operations research, business analytics, another very upcoming course, MS in human computer interaction, and MSc management if you want to switch your career. So some of the options for students who want to do a bachelor's in, who have done a bachelor's in computer science. If you are a bachelor's in electrical engineering or a ECE background, so you can again do a master's in electrical engineering, MS in telecommunication, MS in MIS, MS in software engineering, MS in nanotechnology, MS in embedded systems, engineering management, financial engineering, operations research, business analytics, and MIM, MSc management. So a lot of different course variations for students who want to pursue or who have a bachelor's degree in electrical or ECE background. For students who have done a bachelor's in civil or structural engineering, so they can do an MS in civil engineering, structural engineering, environmental engineering, construction management, MS in transportation engineering, MS in renewable energy, a very upcoming field. And if you want to have a combination of, and if you want to have some management perspective, so you can do an engineering management, financial engineering, operations research, business analytics, and MIM, Masters in Management. For students with a degree in mechanical engineering, they can do a MS in mechanical, MS in automotive and automobile engineering, aerospace, manufacturing engineering, industrial production engineering, mechatronics, a combination of mechanical and electronics, mechatronics, MS in computational mechanics, and then some management knowledge degrees like engineering management, financial engineering, operations research, MS in robotics, MS in business analytics, and MSc management. If you are a bachelor's in biotechnology, so you can do an MS in biotechnology, biology, bioinformatics, very upcoming field, computational biology, molecular and cell biology, biochemistry. A lot of students now are opting for food technology because a lot of food issues around the world. So they want to solve them. So MS in food technology, MS in biomedical engineering, a very good branch of engineering where all your stunt space makers that are manufactured. So they need a lot of biomedical engineers for that program. MS in biotechnology management, MS in immunology, MS in genetics, MS in operations research, and MS in management. For students who have done a bachelor's in pharmacy, you can do an MS in pharmaceutical sciences, and you can work in R&D department of a lot of pharmaceutical companies. You can do an MS in toxicology, MS in pharmacy administration, MS in biomedical sciences, MS in medicinal chemistry, MS in public health, a very good upcoming field, MS in Health Administration, and MSc in Management. So people who are also from MBBS or BDS background, they also do pursue courses like MS in Public Administration, MS in Public Health, and Masters in Health Administration. If they want to work maybe later on in the R&D departments of pharmaceutical companies, so they can pursue these degrees. For people who have done a bachelor's in architecture, they can do a master's in architecture, MS in landscape architecture, MS in urban design, MS in construction management, MS in sustainability, transportation planning, MS in engineering management, MS in financial engineering, MS in operations research, and MSc management. So a lot of course options. You don't have to necessarily stick to the master's degree of your choice. And if you're also looking for unique courses, you can also look and expand your horizon with pursuing these courses, which are obviously in great demand currently as far as a master's degree education is concerned. And of late, a lot of popular courses have also started in this COVID-19 situation, or in last 1 or 2 years. These courses have really picked up and have really gained a lot of popularity among students, and which can also give you great careers. So number one is MS in Human Computer Interaction. So which is a study of how people interact with computers and to what extent computers are or are not developed for successful interaction with human beings. So all your tabs, all your smartphones, all your mobile phones, where you use the touch technology, that is the study which is provided in MS in Human Computer Interaction. So if you want to also study laws or relations between different countries, what are the political scenarios of these countries, if you want to work in embassies of various countries later on, or if you want to work on foreign policies, on how the foreign policies are made according to COVID-19, for example, the current situation, or how the countries maintain or introduce certain policies among nations. So you can also do a study of Masters in International Relations to study that aspect at the master's degree level. And another very upcoming field which a lot of students and which is also gaining popularity is MS in Operations Research. So which is a use of scientific methodology to study systems whose design or operation require human decision making. So all your airline companies, your airline ticketing, railways, manufacturing units, supply chain, logistic companies, etc. They all have their operations and supply chain. So how you need to research on making the operations productive of that particular organization, or how you can improve the supply chain or the overall operations of that particular institution. So that is how and what is taught under operations research, and how you can solve the problems of these companies by improving their operations for maximum profitability of a company, is something which is taught in an MS in Operations Research. And especially for students who have done a bachelor's in engineering or computer science and don't want to pursue, don't want to totally leave your hardcore practical knowledge and want to incorporate or inculcate some management knowledge into their study. So they can do something called an MS in Engineering Management, which is a graduate program specially designed for engineers, scientists, and computers who want to add management and leadership skills to their technical domain. So in engineering management, it's a 50% study of management and 50% of engineering, where you are given knowledge of both aspects. So suppose later on, if you want to work in a company and you have to manage engineers under you, so your engineering knowledge would help you do that. And the managerial skills that you learn in engineering management will help you supervise or manage those people under you. So that is what is taught under engineering management. And remember, for engineering management, you have to take the GRE. Even if the word says engineering management, the accepted test for engineering management is GRE, not the GMAT. So universities only accept the GRE score for admission in MS in engineering management. And a very upcoming field and which is right now in huge demand is your MS in Business Analytics, which is a study of translating vast amount of complex data into manageable information for sound decision making. So a lot of data is available at your disposal. So job of a business analytics is to analyze the data to arrive at proper decision making for that particular organization, for improving the profits and overall operations and systems of that particular organization or a company as a whole. And that is the role that a business analytics do, to analyze that data for logical decision making for the company. So a lot of students also sometimes think that business analytics and data analytics is one of the same thing, but you need to understand that data analytics is a science of just organizing raw data into giving it a shape and a structure. But the job of analyzing that data and arriving at proper decision making is the job that a business analytics do, which is not a part of data science or data analytics. So that is the difference between the two. A very upcoming field or which has always been in demand is MS in Management Information Systems. So which is a study of people, technology, organizations and the relationships among them. So under computer science, student is going to learn all about the sciences, that what science goes into computer science, but about in MIS, how to utilize that knowledge of computer science into real business practices is what is taught under MIS, where computer science is a science related degree and MIS is a purely management related degree. So even an organization like Jamboree also has its own information system databases to manage all the information over the past so many years. So a lot of universities require these information databases, and how to manage those proper information databases and having good relationships between them is something which is taught under the MIS program. And for people who totally want to shift or switch their careers to management, so they can also go for an MS in management, which is called the MIM program. The only difference between the MIM and MBA is the work experience. So usually an MBA requires minimum 2 to 3 years of work experience to get admission. But in MIM, people between 0 to 2 years of work experience are eligible to get admission in the MIM degree. Duration of MIM is mostly 10 months to 1 year, whereas the MBA is normally 2 years in duration. And MIM also opens the window for you to directly pursue 1 year MBA in future. Suppose if as a student you've done an MIM and you work for 5 or 6 years, so then you obviously become eligible to directly pursue a 1 year MBA in future. So you don't have to do a 2 year MBA again after pursuing an MIM, because you have already got the management knowledge by pursuing the MIM degree. So these are some of the top or interesting courses which you can study at a master's level. So now, so if you have any questions or you want to schedule an admission counseling session with any of our experts, so you can send an email to admissions@jamboreeindia.com and we will be more than happy to take those questions. And if any one of you want to have a detailed counseling session with any of our experts, so feel free to leave your name and number in the chat box and we will have our people speak to you on your profile. So now we will now again start the question and answer session to answer the questions which you have. So Nidhi, Mehak has a question that is a 7-pointer enough for an MS degree in pharmacy?
Again, I need to also understand the other factors in the profile as well, and what country is she looking at. But overall, in general, if I have to talk about, that's a decent CGPA.
Okay. So Shagun Prachiti has a question that is it necessary to pursue an MS degree right after we have done our bachelor's degree?
It's not necessary to go right after your bachelor's. You can stay back and have an experience of 1 or 1.5 years, because relevant work ex also helps you in your profile. So it's not compulsory that you have to go right after your bachelor's.
And Prachiti, just to add, no, if if you are looking for a master's degree like a computer science or engineering or mechanical, so work experience is not mandatory there. So you can apply for those programs right after your bachelor's degree. But obviously, if you want to go for an MBA degree, so obviously 2 to 3 years of work experience after your bachelor's degree is preferred by the universities. But if you're looking for courses like to an extension of a bachelor's degree, so work experience is not mandatory. So you can even go after your graduation. But if you want to give some more weightage to your profile, so 6 months to a year of experience is fine, but you can start immediately also after your bachelor's degree. So Lakshya, I'm not sure which masters in UK are you referring to. So if your question is for MIM, so MIM in UK for top schools like LSC, LBS, etc., the GMAT is mandatory. But no, if there are also a lot of other schools like Cranfield, Manchester, Glasgow, Edinburgh, Strathclyde, where GMAT is not mandatory for doing an MIM in the UK. Aparna, Sham has a question that does GPA matter for universities in Australia for masters?
See, in Australia, GPA is actually a word terminology which is used in USA. Otherwise, in Australia, the percentage is fine. And if you're going for the mediocre universities, then definitely from the 50, it ranges from the 50% to the 80 or 90%.
Okay, so Sham, if you're looking for Australia, so there are some universities which start as 55% also. And if you're applying for like university like group of 8, so percentage like a 70% plus is expected by those universities.
It depends upon the profile to profile and the course which he is going for. So we can offer different kinds of universities.
Okay. So Nidhi, Savi has a question that does Canadian universities look for GPA?
Yes, in fact, Canadian universities have a very strong bend towards GPA. I'm not sure what program you're looking at. If it is technical, then the universities do not give a lot of importance to the GRE or the other exam. IELTS definitely is mandatory, but then in that case, your profile and GPA is very important. In case you're looking at management programs, then again your GMAT is also important equally. But again, yes, to answer your question, GPA is like a very important factor for Canadian universities.
Okay. So Simran, as you mentioned that, how to choose an MS course if you're from CSE background. So as I mentioned in the slide, so if you want to continue in your same domain, so you can do an MS in computer science, MS in artificial intelligence, MS in data science, MS in computer engineering, these are some of the good MS in software engineering, which you can do. But, if you want to switch, so you can also, then you can look for other courses like MS in, for example, financial engineering, MS in, operations research, MS in technology management. So these are some of the courses which you can switch if you want to have a management perspective also. So Shreya, if even if the current COVID situation, so a lot of universities are accepting the GRE at home exam. So that is not an issue. So you can take the GRE at home exam even because the deadlines of fall 21 will start from October, November this year. So you will have sufficient time in hand to take the GRE exam also. So that should not be a problem for you. So Shagun Lalit has a question that he has done 2 internships and 2 mini projects in 3rd year and have a 6 to 7 CGPA in mechanical engineering and wants to do an MS in engineering. So can he get a good university in the US and scholarship?
See, again, I'll say, you can cover up for your GPA through your GRE also. And as you mentioned that you have a lot of other research works and internships to show in your profile, I'll say you have a good chance of getting into a decent university. And along with that, maybe you can add some more certifications into your profile if possible. And again, you need to work really hard in your SOPs, make a very good, make use of your SOP to communicate well with the universities.
Okay, so Gitanjali, Karan has a question that what if we have work experience not related to our future MS program? What can be done?
If you don't have work experience related to your program, you can again go back to your academics, and alternatively, you can pursue, like I said, academic opportunities online. Like, you have a lot of courses offered by top universities on Coursera, on edX. So that is an option that you can pursue before you apply for your master's.
So Ananya, no, this is no, not true that only LORs from alumni are preferred by universities or prioritized. So if you have done subsequent work with that alumni, or if the alumni of that university knows you and can comment on your profile and your contribution, only then you can take the LOR. But no, even the LOR, even if it's from the alumni, no, only in case if the alumni knows you or you have done work with that alumni, only then take it. Otherwise, no, it is not a priority by the universities. Neha, even if I'm not sure which course you're looking for, but if you have 5 years of experience and scores are low on GRE, so if you can just mention which course are you looking for. So what I'll also do before, I also give some chance to some of the attendees to ask their questions. So you can raise your hand and I will give you a mic access where you can ask the questions from the panelist. So I'll start with Manindranath. So Manindranath, you can just I have you can unmute yourself and then you can ask your question. Yeah, Manindranath. We cannot hear you.
Is overall CGPA is needed for universities or semester wise?
For which program are you talking about?
For Master Science, MS in US countries.
Okay. See, it is no, the overall GPA that obviously university look at overall GPA, but they also look at your performance semester wise also. So very low in each semester are not preferred by the university. So it's a smart, consistent performance that they prefer over the semesters is what universities look at. But obviously, in the end, they will also look at your GPA. But when they will calculate it, they will look at your each semester marks also.
Okay, if some semester is a good marks, and if some semesters are somewhat very worst and bad marks, is it mandatory?
Yeah, that is fine. So no, they will look at each semester in totality. So even if you have not done in 1 or 2 semesters out of 8, so that should not be a problem.
Is okay. Thank you, sir.
So David, you can ask your question now.
I want to know courses related to chemical engineering in US.
Okay. So Nidhi, do you want to take it up?
Courses related to chemical engineering, I couldn't understand your question exactly.
It's
What?
for masters.
He's asking that he's done a bachelor's in chemical engineering. So what courses he can do in US in master's degree?
So I think the straight option is to actually, the better thing for you would be to actually go for a chemical engineering directly. Are you interested to go for a master's in chemical engineering? Because I think that would actually give you a lot of scope, and you'll have a lot of options for chemical engineering there.
Can you please mention few fields, areas?
David, you can also go for MS in chemical engineering, or right now there's a huge problem of plastic in the world. So you can do an MS in plastic engineering, or also do an MS in petroleum engineering. So these are some of the fields which you can study after a bachelor's in chemical engineering if you want to continue in your hardcore study in your own field.
I haven't done any internships, but I have high profile CGPA and academics.
Yeah. So that's fine. So there are a lot of, as Nidhi mentioned, so there are a lot of offering MS in chemical or petroleum.
Exactly.
Will I get any good university?
Yes, you'll get a lot of options in US or maybe in other places for chemical engineering. But for petroleum, the options would be slightly restricted, because reason being, it comes as a standalone thing. So the the number of options might be less as compared to chemical, but for chemical, definitely you're going to get a lot of options.
I want to know that means I haven't done any internships, but I have a good CGPA and good academic record. Means be like
How
at
much? How much
8,
is your CGPA?
8.8.
And this is from which university?
NIT Srinagar, National Institute of Technology.
Okay, okay. Anything? Have you already completed, or you have some
I'm
kind of?
third BTech. I'm doing currently third BTech.
I think the best thing for you is, I think Rajan sir, what I would also suggest is better you leave your number. I think we can have a detailed discussion on this, and then we can take up your questions.
Actually, I'm a Jamboree student also.
Yeah, so David, you can leave your number in the chat box
I think
privately.
that would be better.
But,
Yeah.
just to tell you, your CGPA is very good.
It is good, yeah.
NIT Srinagar is quite good, and if you can get a decent GRE score like a 315, 318 plus, so you can definitely get some top universities in the US for chemical engineering.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So Ankit Kumar, you can ask your question now. Ankit, you can unmute yourself.
Hello, sir. What is the scope of computer science for pursuing master basically in USA?
We didn't get your question.
What is the scope of computer science for pursuing master basically in USA?
So you're saying what kind of jobs or careers you can expect out of computer science in the US?
My question is related to job.
Okay. So Gitanjali, you want to take it up?
Yeah. So US is actually the capital of innovation for anything related to computer science. So, on the West Coast, you have your Silicon Valley where all the, FANG companies were found. So your Facebook, your Google and such. And on the West Coast, similar. So for computer science, I would say US is perhaps the best destination because all the major IT heads are sort of headquartered in the states of US. So there's a lot of scope and it's perhaps the best country for computer science.
And my second question is there any fee waiver for completing masters?
Do you mean scholarships?
Yeah, ma'am.
So scholarships are again dependent on the profile of the student. So again, your academics, your GPA, your GRE, where you're getting your letter of recommendation. So very subjective question, and we'll have to look at the entirety of your profile for that. Yeah, and we can discuss the same over call perhaps sometime.
So, my third question is suppose I want to complete my master in computer science, then it is need of work experience for applying master.
No, you don't need work experience to apply for your Master of Science.
Thank you, ma'am.
So Ankit, you can leave your number in the chat box and we can have someone speak to you.
Thank you, sir.
So we have Shubham Jain. So Shubham, you can go ahead with your question now.
Yeah, I'm basically like, so I'll give you my basic review of my profile. So I have like CGP of 6.8 from like Thapa University, and like I'm working in a good IT company for like work experience of like when I'll be applying, so I'll have like 2 years of work experience. So, like, what's the scope of like basically considering the countries like Canada or Singapore for like university top universities? So, like, what's the scope like considering my profile in universities like Waterloo or University de Montreal?
Okay. So Nidhi, you want to answer that?
Yeah, I think I did mention this point earlier as well in the webinar that when we talk about Canada, they're more GPA centric. And as you mentioned that you have a 6.8 CGPA overall, your profile definitely would matter. But then when you talk about Waterloo or maybe any top university for that matter, they would be very difficult because they majorly look at your GPA and GRE is something that generally they do not consider.
Okay, so if I target GRE score of like around more than 326, so I mean, what's the scope?
See, that's what I said. That
Even if I like consider NUS like sorry, I mean top universities in Singapore like NTU or.
Shubham, just understand one factor that for any country, undergrad percentage is something that is very important. Canada is something that is, very, very much concerned about the undergrad part. I think the best option for you, I would suggest, is probably US, because there the universities are pretty flexible and they consider every factor of your profile. You have a GRE. If in case the undergrad is lacking somewhere, so if you have a good GRE to compensate it with, or you have other factors in your profile, you can justify it. But these places, be it Singapore or Canada, they have a strong bend towards the GPA.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Darsh, you can ask your question now.
Yeah, thank you. So I have two questions. My first question is, what is the like? How much priority should I give to US or UK for an MSc in computer science?
As Gitanjali also mentioned earlier that, because all the Silicon Valley and US is the hub of innovation and technology. So a lot of universities, options, companies are there. Plus also if you do an MS from US in computer science, since it's come under STEM, so you also have a 3-year work permit, a 3-year OPT in the US to gain some work experience and later on also get an H1 visa for your work. So US is a very good destination as far as the computer science is concerned.
But what about the financial point of view?
See, a lot of universities in the US also give a lot of scholarships to students. I know some of the universities also give a lot of in-state scholarships. So in the past, we have also seen students getting 0 to 50% scholarships from the US universities.
Okay. And my second question is actually that for the program that I'm thinking to apply, I don't have a work experience or an internship in it, but I have conducted events and been a speaker for those kind of for that particular domain in my college. So would that impact my SOP? Would that impact my profile?
As I mentioned earlier, that work experience is not mandatory for doing an MS degree. So even if you don't have work experience, so you're not at a disadvantage, because work experience is not mandatory for applying for a master's degree after your bachelor's degree.
Okay, and I have left my number in the chat box because I would like to have a discussion in detail as well on a personal basis.
Okay, definitely.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so we have now Vandana. So Vandana, you can ask your question.
Hi, I want to do my MS in VLSI, but you have shown the list of courses. VLSI comes under in which of those courses?
Aparna, would you like to take that question? So Aparna, can you hear me?
Your voice is very slow.
Okay. Am I audible now?
Yeah, the student.
Vandana, tell me.
Yeah,
Vandana is asking that she wants to do an MS in VLSI. So Vandana, so she's asking that what MS degree she can do, or is there a standalone degree in VLSI also in the US?
There are universities in US where we have a standalone degrees also, masters in VLSI, but especially this is a specialization in computer science, right? So you will get the degree of MS in computer science, and there the VLSI is a main specialization.
Aparna, I believe you wanted to say electrical engineering, right?
Yeah, it is electrical.
Electrical, you will find in computer science also and in the electrical engineering also.
So Vandana, mostly
there are some courses. Vandana, which is very common in computer science and the electrical engineering. So if you're looking forward for the electrical engineering, then definitely you will get options for the specialization of VLSI in electrical engineering.
Yeah, and I have one more doubt. Like coming to my academic backgrounds, like I did my electronics and communication engineering from NIT Warangal. The thing is that I have 5 semesters. I have SG of around 8.2 to 8.3, but due to some health conditions, I didn't attend some of the exams in my first year. So my SG was less in 2 years, like 1 year, and rest of the years it's very good. So how does that matter? but overall CGPA it may come bit less, but SG is good.
Okay. See, Vandana, while selecting means that this admission committee in the university, they will see each and every subject which you have appeared in the transcript. They will see the whole transcript, right?
Okay.
So it depends on the admissions committee how they evaluate your transcript. Otherwise, they see the overall GPA in your transcript.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Vandana,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
So, so Ananya, you can unmute yourself. Ananya, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Ananya. Yeah, please go on.
Hello?
Yeah, Ananya, we can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Okay,
you.
okay. So I graduated with I graduated with a bachelor's in,
Ananya, your voice is
yeah,
not
yeah.
clear.
Okay, now is it clear?
Yeah, it's clear now. Yeah, it's clear now. Yeah. Please go on.
Yeah, so I graduated with a bachelor's in biotech. So how do I know if I have to choose biotech only, or should I narrow it down for my master's in the US?
See, again, as I mentioned, a lot of courses, from biotechnology you can do. You can do a bioinformatics, biotechnology, biomedical engineering. So these are all upcoming fields. MS in genetics. So these are some of the very upcoming fields and upcoming programs which you can pursue, and you can also get good jobs also out of these programs.
Okay, and does biotech have a lot of maths in it?
Pardon? I think we lost Ananya. Yeah.
Yeah, now can you hear me? Is it clear?
Yeah. Ananya, maybe we can come back to you because I think there's some disturbance there.
Yeah. How do I know if it's math oriented?
So I think there's some problem at Ananya's end. So maybe we can ask David. So David, you can ask your question. David, can you hear us? Hello, David.
I think you have unmuted me, Darsh. You have not unmuted David.
Okay, Darsh, you can go on with your question.
No, I already asked my question.
Okay. Yeah, David, so I have unmuted you. You can ask your question now.
Sir, I have already asked my question and I have left my number in the chat.
Thank you. Okay, so we can have Dikshit Gupta now. So Dikshit, you can ask your question now.
I wanted to know about course options related to statistics. So currently, there is one straight option as one of these is data analytics, and OR. But I would like to know if there are other options for a graduate from with majors in statistics.
Any country preference, Dikshit?
So right now I'm focusing on UK, US, and Canada.
Okay. So Nidhi, you want to take this question?
Yes. So, hi Dikshit. So, I think if you do not wish to continue with what you've done in your bachelor's, like a plain statistics, so you can also look at the actuarials, or you can look at mathematics or data science or data analytics, as you correctly said. So, these are the options which are actually open with your kind of background.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Okay, so I'll just repeat myself. So I said that you can look at either plain statistics in case you wish to continue with the same subject, or either data science or data analytics, or mathematics, applied mathematics. These courses also have a lot of scope, or maybe actuarial sciences as well. So they consider students who have a background in statistics. So you can.
So there, I wanted to know whether there are specializations with this is about the particular specialization within MS Statistics, or are you talking about this
No,
as
I'm
a
talking about a
specific?
standalone course. I'm talking about a standalone MS in Applied Mathematics, MS in Actuarial Sciences, MS in Data Science. I'm talking about a standalone course.
Okay.
Mathematics, you get a lot of courses. Just you can probably just Google it up. You'll find a lot of courses in mathematics. Just see their subjects, or maybe just go in for Actuarial. I think after checking the curriculum, you can take a better call for yourself.
For know about the double masters which are available with statistics.
Sorry, could you repeat your question?
Yeah, so the double masters option.
Double
Whether it,
masters. I'm sorry, I didn't get it.
so we do have double masters options, right?
Right.
So like, are there options available currently, or is it like you have to sign it up on your own?
Sign it up on your own. I'm sorry, I'm not able to get your question. Probably if you're asking about double masters at the time of the application.
Yes. So basically, if I want to apply, how should I apply, or what are the universities that allow us to apply?
To double masters?
Dikshit, a lot of universities, do have double masters, but they don't allow independently to apply. So maybe, that's a specific requirement. So you can leave your number on the chat box. And we
Yeah,
will,
I do have left my number in my.
okay, then we will get back to you on the same.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, so we now have Kriti. So Kriti, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, good evening.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask, what are the various MS programs for microbiology?
Okay, so Shagun, you want to answer that?
Yes. So Kriti, you'll have a lot of options. You can go for your MS again in microbiology. You can go for your MS in immunology. Or in UK, actually, I'll say if microbiology is something you are targeting, you can prefer UK, Oxford, University College London, right? They all have a really good program. They have a mixed program of microbiology and immunology as well, right? Immunity system, MS in immunity system, all such kind of courses are something which you can explore.
All right, and genetics is related as well. I can opt for that.
See, genetics, it will, you can, if you have some kind of subjects into genetics in your undergrad. Because then because if you are going for a full-fledged MS in genetics after your microbiology, so if you have a subject which you have covered it in your undergrad, you can go for that.
Yeah, I do have 1 or 2 semesters of microbiological genetics or microbial genetics.
Right. So again, I'll say you have to check with the universities also, because then they have some kind of prerequisites that if you are going for a standalone program in MS in genetics, then what kind of prerequisites you should have covered in your undergrad. For that, you have to check with each university you are applying for.
Oh, okay. And one more question. Many universities seem to often offer 2 options, research option and thesis. So
Right.
which one do you think would be more beneficial career-wise?
See, it depends on which kind of career are you looking for. If in the longer run you want to work something into academics or something into research area, in some research organizations, then maybe you should go for a research MS in a research option. If you want to don't want to go into core research areas or academics, and you want to work for maybe some like, let's say you want to maybe work for some pharmaceutical companies in their other departments, then you can go for a non-thesis or a thesis program as well.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
So now we have Omkar. So Omkar, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, sir.
Hi.
I want to ask you just which backlogs are counted by the universities, like live backlogs or overall backlogs?
They obviously, as we mentioned earlier also, so they do look at backlogs. So if you have large number of backlogs, so they are not generally preferred by the universities. But if you have like 5 to 10 backlogs, that are still fine. And if you have cleared them within your duration of the bachelor's degree, so that is not an issue.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So we have Udit now. So Udit, you can unmute yourself.
Good evening, sir. I wanted to ask what's a good profile for an tier 1 university in US for doing MS.
MS in what field, Udit?
Mechanical, so mostly manufacturing engineering.
See, I know a good, just for the benefit of others also, a good, as I mentioned, the admissions criteria, a good application is a combination of all factors in totality. Obviously, a good GPA in academics, a good GRE score, some good project work if you have done in your bachelor's or during your profile, and your good SOPs and letters of recommendation. So a combination of all these factors will determine a scholarship for you as far as the US universities, good top universities are concerned.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
So we now have Vaishnavi. So Vaishnavi, you can unmute yourself.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, Vaishnavi.
Currently, I am pursuing BTech in biotechnology, engineering in biotechnology.
Okay.
And I want to do masters in biomedical science.
Okay.
But being an engineer, so can I do masters in biomedical science?
So Gitanjali, would you like to take this question?
Hi, yes, you can actually. That's a very relatively easier switch to make because there are some electives that you would have in your bachelor's that would be sufficient for completing biomedical sciences. What I will recommend is that you do some electronic related courses as well on your own, and that's going to add a lot to your profile.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Then we have Alim. So Alim, you can ask your question.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Sir, actually, I have a big query regarding my profile because I wanted to do my MS in abroad after completing my bachelor's. I have my bachelor's in nautical science, BSc in nautical science, which is a 3 years education. And when I asked some consultancies near my hometown, they told that at least 4 years of education is required. So I went ahead to master's, that is MBA in environmental management. And I have a good percentage of about 82%. With I have internship about 9 months with the NIOT, National Institute of Ocean Technology, Chennai. And right now my query is, I'm preparing for IELTS. So, and I'm looking for countries in Northern Europe.
So that is fine. So you can apply to those countries with only.
Yeah. And right now my query is, the GRE also required for Northern European countries. So since I'm into looking for a profile related to MS in environmental engineering.
No, GRE is not required for Northern European countries.
Okay, sir. If so, what are the courses you can suggest me, sir, like related to environment?
So you can do an MS in environmental engineering, MS in nautical sciences in your own field. So these are some of the programs you can do.
Yes, sir. Will this education be enough to get into tier 1 universities like Ireland, Germany, then Netherlands, like this countries?
So you have to have a good percentage there, because these countries, they prefer for, especially your program, they would prefer like a 72 to 73% in your bachelor's degree.
But in my bachelor's, I have 62%, sir.
62% will be difficult to get admission in Northern Europe. So maybe you can look at the US universities in that case.
So it is not preferable to look into Northern European countries, you mean?
You can look at some universities in Poland if you want to, but other countries will be difficult, especially Germany, Ireland.
Oh. Won't my master's degree percentage add up to this percentage, sir?
No, they will first consider your bachelor's degree percentage.
Okay, sir, I understand that totally.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So we will take one last question. So we have Chandramaya. So Chandramaya, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Hello?
Currently, I am in
We cannot hear you. And for the benefit of others, if you want to have any profile specific questions, so just leave your name and number in the chat box below, and we will have someone get back to you on the same. Yeah, Chandramaya, we cannot hear you. Can you be more louder? Okay, I think there's some problem there. We'll come back to you. So we have Rena. So Rena, you can unmute yourself. Hello, Raina. Hello. Rena, can you, we can hear you?
Yeah, just a sec. Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, I'm a marine engineer. I'm on job for the last 8 years with an oil company. I have done mechanical engineering and later on I did marine engineering. That is a transformation course for 1 year. My percentage was 68. That considers to be, I think, around 6.8 GPA, CGPA. I Googled it right now. I'm looking for MBA or either MS in Europe. I had a lot of backlogs which I cleared within time, and then I got into a good job and I'm earning very well. So I'm still confused whether I should go for an MBA, and now I just came to know that they are considering your backlogs also. And particularly I was interested in Germany. I listed some Germany and France. I listed out some universities, and I was preparing for GRE because they also considered GRE for MBA in those institutes. And also the MBA in those colleges, it's all paid, which means I have to invest a lot and leave my job for the 2 years, and that loss also accounts. But if I go for an MS program in public universities in Germany, as I Googled it, there is some kind of e-layer or something kind of support from the government. So what do you recommend? Should I go for this or not?
So Rena, since you are a marine engineer with for the past 8 years, you're also working. So obviously, and you're doing for a good career in Europe. So you can also go for an MBA. MBA would be a better option. I know, for example, countries like Netherlands, Germany have very good scope for marine engineers, and you can also work later on. So you can get good jobs. So you want to know a good score in GMAT, would be more viable option. And you can look for an MBA in countries like in Europe, like Germany, France, Netherlands. So that would be good for you.
So as I just told you, I had a lot of backlogs when I was
That is
studying.
fine, because if you score, since you have 8 years of work experience, so if you score well on the GMAT, so that will be the latest academic parameter that a lot of universities will look at. So if you can score good high score on GMAT, so that will cover your backlogs or the academics.
And I'm also confused between GRE and GMAT because not
For
GRE, sorry.
for MBA, you
MS
should
and
take the
MBA
GMAT exam.
because yeah, I'm just confused about the MBA and MS because just now with your help, I came to know a lot of other courses for engineering management and all, which I was not aware of at all. And so my annual salary is around $50,000. So will that help me to increase my salary in future, or this is what I can get after spending 2 years?
See, if you already done already $60,000, so only MBA will be able to give you a better salary than that, and not the MS degree.
Okay, then I'll go with MBA. Thank you for clarifying that, and later I can discuss with you one-to-one for this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So so with this, we will like to end this session, and if anybody is sorry if we were not able to answer your questions, so we were able to take as much as we can. So you can leave your name and number in the chat box, and we will have someone contact you for your queries. And thanks to all the panelists for answering those questions for students and making it a very interactive session. And thanks to all the students for making it for taking your time out and coming for this session. And we wish you all the best in your careers, and have a good education. Thank you, and all the best. Stay safe, take care, and thank you, panelists. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.